what's up YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night assuncao versus Morales. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Rodrigo, I can't say his last name, versus Magomed. I can't say this guy's last name either, but Rodrigo's a good grappler, but I feel like his one loss was to a guy who's just a much better grappler, and I think that's the same thing that's going to happen here. I think both these guys are really good grapplers, but I think Magomed is just a much better grappler. I also think his wrestling overall is just a lot better. I think that Magomed, his one loss was just that one loss where he got caught by John Moraga. Other than that, he's looked phenomenal. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think we're just going to see one guy who's got much better wrestling dominate this fight, and I'm leaning towards Magomed. I think he wins every single round, 30-27 decision. Next, we got Ricardo Ramos versus Said Nurmagomedov. And Said is good, but I don't know. I thought he lost his last fight to Justin Scoggins. I think he's a decent striker with some decent grappling, but I just think Ricardo Ramos is better in both those areas. I think his striking's I think he just hits harder and just has better striking overall, and I think that his ground game is, I don't know if it's better, but I think he's got better wrestling overall. So I'm leaning towards Ricardo. I think he's just going to edge every round and win a decision. Next, we got Geraldo Fierez versus Felipe Corrales. And to me, Felipe just looks like, the younger, more talented guy at this point. They're both primarily jiu-jitsu dudes with some striking, but Geraldo's like 11-4, and I think he's like a little bit older. And Felipe, he's like 24 and he's 8-0. I think these guys are both primarily jiu-jitsu dudes with some striking, but I think Felipe just looks like a really solid prospect, and I think Felipe might win by submission in like the second round. Next, we got Junior Albini versus Jurizo. I cannot say this dude's name. I know Jirai. He's like a good striker with some decent wrestling, but I think Junior Albini is just way better. I think Junior Albini, he's been submitted and caught, but I think that overall he's really solid. His striking and output are both really good. I think that even though he's lost his last two, I think he's a solid up-and-comer, and I think that Jurizo is not going to be able to just push him around with his wrestling, and I think the longer this goes, the more it's going to favor Junior, and I think that Junior is going to get like a second or third round TKO win. Next, we got Mara Borello versus something Santos. These people have such fucking crazy names. But to me, Santos looks amazing. She's 15-0 with like 12 wins by knockout or TKO. And, Mara, she's decent everywhere, but I just don't think she's going to be able to survive Santos. I think Santos is just going to overwhelm her on the feet and eventually get the win by TKO. I don't think Mara's going to be able to get this to the ground. I think Santos, like I said, maybe like late second, late third, TKO. Next, we got Thiago Alves versus Max Griffin, and this depends entirely on Thiago Alves. If he's completely done, then he's probably going to lose. But I think that if he's still got something left in the tank, I think he should be able to win this fight. Because I do think, at his best, his striking is better than Max Griffin's is, and I think his takedown defense is better than Max Griffin's takedown offense. To me, Max Griffin, he's good striker, good wrestler, but like I said, I think Thiago Alves, at his best, his striking is more technical and his takedown defense is much better. Like I said, it all depends on where Thiago's at. If he's done, then he's going to lose. But if he's still got something left, then he should, like I said, dominate this fight and win a 30-27 decision. That's what I'm going with. I think Thiago Alves wins a 30-27 decision. Next, we got Marcus Perez versus Anthony Hernandez. And to me, I just feel like Perez has not looked super impressive. Like, he's had some decent wins, but he's lost the big fights. And I think this is another big fight where I think he's just going to get outpaced and outworked. I don't think he'll get finished, but I feel like he tends to not put out a high volume kind of. And I think Hernandez is just going to be able to out-wrestle him and outbox him and just win a decision. Next, we got Livia Souza versus Sarah Fontana. And Sarah looks like she's decent everywhere, but Souza's just amazing. I think that Souza's going to get this fight to the ground and win by submission. I just think they're trying to give Souza another win before they get for like a top 15 person. And that's what I see happening. I think this is going to be like Souza's debut. I think she's just going to walk through this chick and win by submission in the first round. Next, we got Johnny Walker versus Justin Ledet. And to me, Justin Ledet kind of showed in his last fight that he, the reason why he was so good at heavyweight was just that he had good movement and good cardio. And he was fighting big dudes that he could just dance around at. Light heavyweight, these dudes are more athletic, and he's not going to be able to do that shit. I think Johnny Walker's just going to walk him down and beat the shit out of him. I don't know if he'll be able to finish him just because I forget what's his face, that European dude really beat the crap out of him and he couldn't finish him, but I think the same thing's going to happen. I think Johnny Walker is just going to beat Justin Ledet up for 3 rounds because, like I said, the guys at 205, you're not just going to dance around them. They're more athletic and they're not as big and slow as the guys at heavyweight. So I'm leaning towards Johnny Walker. I say he either gets a unanimous decision or he gets a TKO in like the late third. Next, we got Charles Oliveira versus David Tamor, and this is 100% striker versus grappler. I think that David Tamor has shown he's got really good takedown defense, and Charles Oliveira has shown that he has some striking, but it all depends on who can get it where, and I'm just leaning towards Tamor. I think that he's looked amazing. You know, he's 5-0 at this point in the UFC, and I think that he has solid power. I think if he can keep that distance, which he's good at keeping that distance, then he should be able to light Oliveira up and eventually catch him with like a big like overhand right from the outside or something like that. Because he's really good at timing. He doesn't just wing overhand rights to wing them. Like when he throws like big overhand rights, it's because he's waiting for guys to come in on him, you know? And that's what I see happening. I think that if Oliveira can get to the ground early, like he's good at that too, then he'll probably win by submission. But I just don't see that happening. I think Tamor will keep the distance and eventually set him up for like a big punch and win by knockout. Because, like I said, I feel like Oliveira's biggest weakness is his durability is not that great. I think he doesn't take punches very well, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think sooner or later, David's going to set him up for like a body kick or overhand right and win by knockout. Next, we got Damian Maia versus Lyman Good, and this is tough because Damian Maia, his last 3 fights, he's really taken a lot of hits. I feel like his last 3 fights, he's taken a lot of damage, and I don't know where he's at in his career. I feel like, you know, he probably should win this fight if this was like a year or 2 ago, but after those last 3 losses, I don't know where he's at. Lyman Good, you know, it's hard to tell just because he looked great in his last fight, but he wasn't fighting someone super amazing, and he's been out for a long time too. It's just so tough to tell with these guys because I don't know where Damian Maia is at. I don't know where Lyman Good is at. I guess I'm leaning towards Damian Maia just because Lyman Good doesn't have amazing takedown defense, and I do feel like if Damian Maia can get it to the ground, he'll win by rear naked choke. But like I said, this fight's really going to tell where both guys are at, and it's just really hard to tell because, like I said, I don't know where they're at. But yeah, I'm going with Damian Maia. I think he wins by first round rear naked choke. Next, we got Jose Aldo versus Renato Moicano. And to me, Aldo is one of those guys where, you know, even though he won his last fight, he's definitely getting close to the end. I think he's still amazing, and I definitely think that he's better than Moicano. I think Moicano in his last fight, you know, even though he knocked down Cub Swanson, I think that was just a perfect punch. You know, in his other, like, UFC fights, he's never dropped somebody. I feel like we've seen Moicano's a good striker with good jiu-jitsu, but I think Aldo's takedown defense and striking is better. The one thing Moicano could take advantage of is the conditioning. He's going to definitely have the advantage there, but I just feel like Aldo's a guy who very rarely loses the first 2 rounds, and because this is a 3-round fight, it's really hard to pick against him, because this isn't like Jeremy Stephens, where Jeremy Stephens is going to push that pace and he could tire him out, and even if he lost the first round or 2, he could have finished him in the 3rd, which is why I picked Stephens. I don't think Moicano is going to fight like that. He has fought like that before, but he likes moving back, and I think that's not going to help him. I think if he fights a technical fight against Aldo, Aldo's just going to be conservative. And like I said, I think he's more technical, and I think he's also got a speed advantage, and he's not going to get taken down by Moicano. And I think that if Moicano just plays the long-distance striking game, he's just going to get outstruck for at least 2 of the 3 rounds. And that's what I just see happening. I think that Aldo's going to, you know, outstrike him for at least 2 of the 3 rounds because Moicano, you know, isn't going to just charge at him like Stephens did, and I think that's going to favor Aldo, and he just wins the decision. And finally, we got Rafael versus Marlon Moraes, and I don't think this fight's necessary. I think Assuncao should be getting this title shot already. He's gone like 12-1 in his last 13. I mean, his one loss was to a guy he's also beaten in TJ. They're 1-1. And, I mean, he's also beaten Marlon Moraes. I mean, the only reason this fight's happening is because nobody wants to see Assuncao get this title shot, which is bullshit because he's done so well. Everyone wants Marlon to get the title shot because he's coming off a couple of good knockouts. And I feel like this fight will be, like the first fight, just a higher pace because both those guys, you know, Assuncao's coming off a long layoff and Moraes is making his UFC debut. I think it's going to be a close striking fight back and forth. I don't think there's going to be a lot of grappling. I think it's just going to be who kind of slightly edges every round. I think this goes the distance, and I think Assuncao is going to win again. I think the first fight was super close. This fight will be super close, but I just think assuncao's a tiny bit better, and I think he slightly edges out a split decision. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.